It was supposed to be nothing more than an adventure. That's how it always starts. On the outskirts of Silver Valley, about 20 miles from the nearest town, there stood an amusement park. Once bright, colorful, and full of life, it had been abandoned for 2 decades after a tragic accident claimed the lives of several children. The accident was never clearly explained. Some blamed faulty rides. Others whispered darker rumors. Voices over the speakers, shadows in the mirrors, rides that moved on their own. The locals called it Silver Valley Theme Park, but to everyone who grew up nearby, it had another name. The park that eats people. Most people avoided it. But for Jake, Emily, and Chris, it was the perfect place for a thrill. Jake was the one who suggested it. He was always chasing trouble, the kind of guy who laughed at ghost stories and wanted to prove everyone wrong. Emily was more cautious, but she was curious too. She heard her uncle talk about the park when she was little. He used to say, "Don't ever go near that place, Emmy. Some rides never let you off once you get on." Chris, quiet and nervous, didn't want to go at all. But he was their best friend, and he'd rather tag along than sit home alone while the others had fun. That night, under the pale glow of a full moon, the 3 of them parked their car near the overgrown gates. The rusted iron arch still read, "Welcome to Silver Valley," in faded red paint. The letters hung crooked, some broken off completely, but the entrance still stood tall like a grinning skull with missing teeth. Jake grinned. "Looks like a movie set. This is going to be epic." Emily hugged herself. "It smells awful, like burnt popcorn and wet metal." Chris whispered, "Guys, we really shouldn't be here." But Jake had already started climbing through a hole in the gate. The second they stepped inside, the air changed. The night felt heavier, quieter, like the world outside had been shut off. The trees were dead around the park, their branches sharp like claws. Broken light bulbs still clung to poles, and tattered banners flapped weakly in the wind. As they walked down the cracked midway, Emily felt like eyes were watching them. And then came the sound, a faint crackle, a hum, and suddenly, studio microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Silver Valley. Please enjoy your stay." The voice blared from the loudspeakers above the game booths. Jake froze. "Wait, did you hear that?" Chris swallowed hard. "The park's been closed for 20 years. How can there still be power?" Emily's heart pounded. It said, "Welcome back." The lights along the midway flickered on, one by one. First the ring toss booth, then the dart game, then the milk bottle stand. Neon colors buzzed to life, glowing sickly against the night sky. "Creepy as hell," Jake muttered, but his grin only widened. "Come on, let's check out the rides." The carousel stood at the center of the park. Once painted bright gold and silver, now it was faded and chipped. Wooden horses with glass eyes stood frozen mid-gallop. Some had missing legs, some had jaws cracked wide open. As the trio approached, the carousel jolted. The horses twitched. And then, with a slow grinding sound, the ride turned. The music box inside screeched to life. But it wasn't a cheerful tune anymore. It was broken, slowed down, like a carnival song played underwater. Emily gasped. No way. This shouldn't be working." And then she saw it. One of the horses wasn't empty. It carried a rider. At first, she thought it was a doll. A mascot costume, maybe. But when the carousel turned, the figure came into full view. It was a giant bear suit. The park's old mascot, Sonny the Bear. Its once happy smile was cracked, the fabric moldy and dark. Its oversized black eyes stared straight at them. But the worst part, the suit was empty. She could see straight through the mouth of the bear, nothing inside. No person, no stuffing, just hollow darkness. The bear's head turned slowly, unnaturally, as the carousel spun, locking eyes with her. Emily stumbled back. Oh my God! Oh my God! It's looking at me. The loudspeaker above crackled again. Studio microphone, Emily. Your ride is ready. Her blood froze. Al, how do they know my name? Jake laughed nervously. It's just a prank. Maybe some kids wired this place. But the carousel stopped. The bear was facing them directly now, still mounted on the horse. Its paw was raised, pointing straight at Emily. Chris grabbed her arm. We need to leave. Now. They ran. They didn't stop until they reached the midway again. Emily was shaking. Jake tried to play it off, but his voice trembled. That was insane. Like special effects or something. Someone must be messing with us. Chris wasn't listening. He'd stopped in front of a cotton candy stand. The machine inside was spinning. Fluffy pink sugar twirled into shape, forming a perfect cone. No way, Chris whispered. He stepped closer. Don't, Emily warned. But Chris reached for it anyway. The candy looked fresh, warm, sweet. Against all logic, it smelled delicious. The moment he touched it, the floss wrapped around his fingers. Guys. His voice cracked. The candy tightened like veins, pulling him closer. He screamed as it latched onto his arm, crawling up like living tissue. Help me, Emily and Jake grabbed him, pulling with all their strength. But the machine roared louder, sucking him in. His arm disappeared inside the spinning barrel, then his shoulder, then his chest. His scream became a gurgle. And then silence. The machine slowed. When it stopped, there was no Chris. Only a cone of cotton candy resting neatly on the stand, dripping red. Emily screamed, stumbling back. Jake stared in horror. The loudspeaker boomed again. Studio microphone, step right up. Who's next? They ran blindly, tears streaming down Emily's face. Jake kept muttering, "It's not real. It can't be real." But the park was alive now. The lights were blinding. The rides roared to life. The roller coaster rattled, though no one sat inside. The funhouse mirrors lit up, reflecting things that weren't there. Finally, they reached the Ferris wheel. Its cabin swayed, chains groaning, and then, with a sudden jolt, it roared to life. The wheel turned, screeching as it spun faster and faster. A spotlight from nowhere beamed down on them. The mascot bear was standing at the controls. One paw rested on the lever. Emily froze. Jake stepped protectively in front of her. The loudspeaker crackled. Studio microphone, 2 seats left. 1 ride. 1 survivor. Jake's face drained of color. He turned to Emily. Don't get on. But the Ferris wheel cabin lowered right in front of them, its bar snapping open with a hiss. Jake, Emily whispered. He shoved her inside. Go! She tried to pull him with her, but the bar slammed shut, trapping her alone. The cabin rose. Emily banged on the glass, screaming his name. The wheel climbed higher and higher. But outside the glass, the city wasn't there anymore. No roads, no hills, no stars. Just a black void stretching forever. Jake's voice echoed below. Emily, hold on. But when she looked down, she froze. It wasn't Jake screaming. It was another Emily. An exact copy of her, standing beside Jake, holding his hand. She smiled and waved up at the cabin. Jake didn't look confused. He didn't question it. He held the other, Emily, close, like she had always been the real one. The Ferris wheel spun faster. Her cabin shook violently. The loudspeaker whispered one last time. Studio microphone, every ride must end. Welcome home. The lights went out. The next morning, Silver Valley police responded to calls about strange noises near the park. They found the gates locked tight. No car, no footprints, no sign of anyone inside. But on the ground near the entrance was a single cone of cotton candy. Half-eaten, sticky, dripping red. And if you stand near the park at night, locals say you can still hear the voice on the loudspeakers echoing through the valley.